How's it going, everybody? So, Sunday Bible study, continuing on in Romans 7 and Daniel 7. So, the trouble is not with the law, for it is spiritual and good. The trouble is with me, for I am all too human, a slave to sin, because he's still in his flesh. I don't really understand myself. For what I want to do is right, but I don't do it. Instead, I do what I hate. But if I know what I am doing is wrong, this shows that I agree that the law is good. So I am not the one doing wrong. It is sin living in me that does it. So he is speaking as a saved sheep. He knows that he is never completely without that sense of self, a little bit of pride still, lingering, your ego, your sense of self, and your sin nature overall. Now, you will be called out of those sins to where it says those which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom, like adultery and fornication and so on and so forth. But he's just talking about anything that Jesus wouldn't do is a sin. So that sense of self and so on and so forth. So, but if you know what I'm doing, okay, so we finished that. And I know that nothing good lives in me, that is, in my sinful nature. In other words, he's talking about his flesh. But of course, Christ in him cannot sin, but his flesh cannot stop sin. So that's the outer man and the inner man. It's the battle. It's the struggle between the outer man and the inner man. The inner man is Christ in you. It cannot sin. The outer man is your flesh, and it never stops sinning. But again, it will stop doing those sins listed in Galatians 5:19 through 21. In other words, Paul's not running around. He's not talking about that he can't stop adultery and fornication. Okay. And I know that nothing good lives in me, that is my sinful nature. I want to do what is right, but I can't. I want to do what is good, but I don't. I don't want to do what is wrong, but I do it anyway. But if I do what I don't want to do, I am not really the one doing it. It is the sin living in me that does it. So he's talking about it's not Christ in him that's sinning, it's his flesh that's sinning. I have discovered this principle of life, that when I want to do what is right, I inevitably do what is wrong. I love God's law with all my heart, but there is no other power within me that is at war with my mind. This power makes me a slave to sin that is still within me. Oh, what a miserable person I am. Who will free me from this life that is dominated by sin and death? Why? Because he's still in his flesh. He hasn't been risen and given his glorified body. Thank God the answer is Jesus Christ, our Lord. So you see how it is in my mind. I really want to obey God's law, but because of my sinful nature, I am a slave to sin. Not much different there in the King James. Let's go on with Daniel. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him, and the judgment was set, and the books were opened. I think this was talking about the Ancient of Days in the previous study. That verse 10, referring back. I beheld, and he says the books were open. Those are the books of judgment. I beheld then, because of the voice of the great words in which the horn spake, and I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body was destroyed and given to the burning flame. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, and their lives were prolonged for a season at a time. And I saw in the night's visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, that would be Jesus, and came the Ancient of Days, which is God, the Father, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom, that all people, nations, languages should serve him. His dominion is everlasting dominion, which shall not pass away, in his kingdom, that which shall not be destroyed. I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. So you just go, you have to start the story from yesterday. And of course, we'll continue it on tomorrow. Love y'all very much. Still under the weather.